Chapter 20 of the Fifth Battle, the Nirnaeth Arnoediad. After Beren and Luthien showed that Morgoth is in fact able to be challenged, Maedhros decides to form a union against him. However, this doesn't quite work out as well as he'd hoped. For instance, remember how in the last chapter, Orodreth said that Nargothrond would never help the Sons of Feanor after Celegorm and Curufin's poor showing there? Yeah, so pretty much the only people from Nargothrond who actually do join the Union are just a small company led by a guy called Gwindor. Now, Gwindor's brother, Gelmir, was taken captive during the Dagor Bragolach, so Gwindor is seeking vengeance right now. But that's it. No other help comes from Nargothrond. And now that Thingol has a Silmaril, of course the Sons of Feanor have told him in the most arrogant way possible to hand it over or else. You think Thingol's gonna help Maedhros now? Yeah, I don't think so. Melian counsels him to just hand it over, who cares? But he becomes really prideful and angry in reaction to the haughty demands of the Sons of Feanor. And also, he's been growing more and more covetous of the jewel every time he looks at it. So Doriath, it's closed off to joining the Union, and no one from that realm is allowed to go, except for Mablung and Beleg. They really want to participate in this battle, but they're only allowed to if they march with Fingon and not the Feanorians. Oh well, Maedhros at least gets help from the Naugrim, the Dwarves, both in fighters and in weaponry, so that's pretty good. And the people of Bor and Ulfang, the Easterlings, remember those guys? They also gather and start training for war. Out west, in Heathlum, the Noldor and the men of the House of Hador, from Dorlomin, prepare to fight as well. Because, of course, Maedhros' old bestie, Fingon, will always help him out. Even the secluded people of Haleth start preparing. And somehow Turgon is made aware of this union as well, out over in secluded Gondolin, probably via an eagle messenger of some sort, I would imagine. So Maedhros' plan of attack is as follows. Assault Angband from both east and west. First, the host of the east should march forward with banners clearly visible so as to draw out the forces of Morgoth. Then, a signal will come up from a beacon somewhere in Dorthonion, and by surprise, the host of the west is gonna come forth so that Morgoth's forces are fenced in on both sides. Okay, so now it's the day of battle. Early morning as the sun rises. Maedhros' army has gathered in the east, and Fingon's army has gathered in the west. You have Fingon's Noldoran host, the men of the House of Hador, led by Húrin and Huor, the people of Haleth, elves from the Falas, and Gwindor's small company from Nargothrond, and Beleg and Mablung are somewhere in there. So as Fingon and his army wait hidden in the passes of the Mountains of Shadow, by total surprise, Turgon and a force of 10,000 straight from Gondolin come riding up to join Fingon's army. Now this gives them great hope. However, all does not happen as it should. Why? Morgoth already knows about the attack plan because all of his spies have been gathering intel for him. Remember that some men are on his side. Indeed, an Easterling called Uldor, one of the sons of Ulfang, manages to deceive Maedhros with false reports of where the enemy is. Thus, Maedhros' host is delayed in going forward on time, as was originally planned. And meanwhile, Morgoth sends out a little host of orcs to the Mountains of Shadow to try to draw out Fingon's army first. And Fingon's host is super impatient to start battling right away, but they have to wait according to plan. One way Morgoth tempts them is by having his orcs bring out hostages who have been imprisoned in Angband. One hostage is Gelmir, the brother of Gwindor from Nargothrond. The orcs proceed to cut off his hands, feet, and head, and Gwindor just happens to see all of this. Well, this infuriates him, so in a blind rage, he just rides out early along with his small company. They go deep within the orc host, and after seeing this, the host of Fingon, well, they charge forth too. The light of the drawing of the swords of the Noldor was like a fire in a field of reeds, and so fell and swift was their onset that almost the designs of Morgoth went astray. So they destroy this small host of orcs and ride all the way to Angband. Gwindor and his company charge right through the gates, but they become trapped inside and are subsequently slain, except for Gwindor, who is taken captive. Then Morgoth releases his main host, and they beat Fingon's host back over the plain. Most of the people of Haleth are killed as the host becomes surrounded, but then Turgon comes to their aid, having held back his host earlier from such a rash and unplanned charge. And he hacks his way through the melee to his brother. And it is told that the meeting of Turgon with Húrin, who stood beside Fingon, was glad in the midst of battle. And finally, the Feanorian host comes forward and attacks the host of Morgoth from the rear. Then Morgoth just empties out Angband by releasing his wolves, his balrogs, and dragons, led by Glaurung, who separates Fingon's and Maedhros' hosts from each other. But this battle against Morgoth, it might have been successful if it weren't for the treachery of men. Many of the Easterlings just run away in fear, and the sons of Ulfang switch sides in the midst of battle and attack the rear of the Feanorian army. Maglor kills Uldor, and the sons of Bor kill the other two sons of Ulfang before they're killed as well. And then more evil men who've been hiding in the hills this whole time come down upon Maedhros' host. Now being attacked from three sides, the Feanorian army just scatters. Miraculously, none of the sons of Feanor are killed, and with a group of other Noldor and dwarves, they manage to hack their way out and escape to Mount Dolmed. Now the only force in the east that remains are the dwarves of Belegost. They're able to endure the dragon's fire a lot better than the elves. Dwarves are hardier in that way. Their lord, Azagal, stabs Glaurung before dying underneath him, thus wounding the dragon so much that he retreats back to Angband along with a bunch of other beasts. The dwarves of Belegost then just stop fighting and they solemnly carry their king away, just leaving the battle behind. They're done with that. But in the meantime, the western host is now totally outnumbered by the armies of Angband. Then Gothmog, Lord of the Balrogs, shows up. You remember him, right? He's the one who killed Feanor. Well, now he's back and ready for action. He drives a wedge into the Noldoran host and surrounds Fingon, shoving out Turgon and Húrin towards the Fen of Serech. Then he turned upon Fingon. That was a grim meeting. At last Fingon stood alone with his guard dead about him, and he fought with Gothmog, until another Balrog came behind and cast a thong of fire about him. Then Gothmog hewed him with his black axe, and a white flame sprang up from the helm of Fingon, as it was cloven. Thus fell the High King of the Noldor, and they beat him into the dust with their maces, and his banner blue and silver they trod into the mire of his blood. So the field is lost, but the men of Hador manage to keep the pass of Sirion with Turgon's host. Then Húrin says to Turgon, "Go back to Gondolin, because you're definitely the last hope of the Eldar." And Turgon says, "Yeah, but it won't remain hidden for long." And then Huor says to him, "But if you keep it hidden just a little while longer, then the hope of both elves and men will come from your house. I'm speaking now with the foresight of someone who's about to die. From you and from me, a new star shall arise." And meanwhile, Maeglin is nearby and hears this, and he just logs it away into his memory. And Turgon, he listens to the brothers, and he retreats with the remainder of his host and Fingon's army as well. Meanwhile, the men of the House of Hador fight on bravely, protecting this Noldoran retreat. The hosts of Angband swarm them, and Huor is shot dead with an arrow, and all the men are killed around him in a heap, until just Húrin is left. He's the last man standing, and he just starts hacking away at the orcs with an axe, crying out, "Day shall come again," until there's just a pile of them around him. He's like a machine. But even he is eventually subdued, and Gothmog drags him back to Angband alive. So the battle is another resounding win for Morgoth, 2 in a row. Not only on the field, but also because men killed men, they betrayed the elves, and now fear and hatred divide those who should be united against Morgoth. So he's happy. The sons of Feanor and their people are scattered all over Osiriand and elsewhere in the wild. The very few people of Haleth still live in Brethiel, but not one member of Fingon's host goes back to Heathloom, instead having joined with Turgon in the retreat back to Gondolin, as we just saw. Nor do the men of the House of Hador return to Dor-Lómin, because they all died on the battlefield, except Húrin, of course, who's captive. In fact, Morgoth gives the Easterlings free run of Heathloom, and you can just imagine how they terrorize the women, children, the elderly of the House of Hador. It's very nasty business. It's not good. And the Eldar, who remained in Heathloom, are taken as slaves or hide in scattered groups in the wild. They're just everywhere. And orcs and wolves are now roaming all over the place, even down south and near the borders of Osiriand. I mean, they're everywhere now. Doriath and Nargothrond are still hidden, but many elves seek refuge in the Havens. However, within the next year, Morgoth sends forces to attack and eventually destroy the Havens. So most of Círdan's people are killed or enslaved, but some do manage to escape by ship, including Fingon's son, Ereinion Gil-galad, and they set up a refuge on the Isle of Balar while maintaining small and fast ships hidden near the mouth of Sirion, ready to take anyone in need of help over to the island. And hearing about this, these ships, Turgon again sends some people down the river so that they can sail ships into the west in a desperate move to ask the Valar for help. Well, all of the ships founder, but only one elf from any of those crews remains alive. His name is Voronwe, and Ulmo takes him up in a wave and drops him off in Nevrast. He's going to be an important player in a little bit, so just keep him in the back of your mind. And even though Morgoth won this fight, he's still not happy. Because he's not totally happy, because he really wants to find Turgon's hidden kingdom. He hates and fears Turgon, because even back in Valinor, whenever he came near him, he knew that somehow his ruin would come from this elf. So, in hopes that Húrin will spill the beans on the location of Gondolin, Morgoth brings him before his throne. But Húrin doesn't tell the secret. Instead, he mocks Morgoth to his face. Whoa! Then Morgoth curses him, his wife Morwen, and their children to lives of darkness and sorrow. He then binds Húrin to a stone chair on top of Thangorodrim, where he is doomed to watch the evil fates that will befall everyone he loves, and he won't be able to get up until the curse on his family is finally complete. Morgoth commands his orcs to gather all the dead bodies from the battlefield and pile them up in a great mound in Anfalglith. It looks like a hill from far away, and it's called Hauth en Ndengin, the Hill of the Slain. Grass eventually grows over it, though. The only green thing in that whole desert plain, and no servant of Morgoth ever walks across it.